Everything which is happening in Ukraine is modern warfare. Modern warfare is something that we need. Drones, mass, it's an issue, electronic warfare, and speed in adapting. That's something that we are learning from Ukrainian warriors.
There is this viewpoint we sometimes hear in the Western capitals now that Ukraine is turning the tide in the war. Looking at the battlefield, do you agree with this assessment?
Yes, I share this assessment because I have information provided by NATO headquarters, so it is what we have in our view. There is a time now in which Ukraine is maybe gaining something, of course not losing, gaining something. And also, the strong reaction from Russia could be, coming from frustration.
What would you say is the most realistic path to something we can describe as a Ukrainian victory in the war?
I think it's something we need to think very, very cautiously. The very first thing that NATO is looking for is just a ceasefire, sitting at the table and start to discuss long-lasting, just peace for Ukraine.
How successfully is NATO learning the lessons of modern warfare from Ukraine? For example, when it comes to drones.
Yeah, it has been a great bunch of information we had and we are having through our JETEC element we do have in Poland to exploit lesson learned from the field, to articulate training triggered by the lesson learned. So that's something very, very valuable for us. Again, drones, mass, it's an issue, electronic warfare, and speed in adapting, speed in using all the innovation, speed to innovation, and to have the innovation on the field available. That's something that we are learning from Ukrainian war, from Ukrainian warriors.
Do you think there are some aspects of the war in Ukraine that don't really translate very well to a scenario of a conflict between NATO and Russia?
Well, everything which is happening in Ukraine is modern warfare. Modern warfare is something that we need, but again, this is today's war, today's warfare. Of course, our deterrence must be projected ahead. Just try to understand what will be the evolution of the threat. NATO has two main threats, which are Russia on the conventional area and the terrorist group on the unconventional area. But again, we need to project in the next and further future what how could evolve these menace and adapt. But again, the starting point from Ukrainian theater is invaluable.
Ukrainian drone teams have beaten NATO forces during several recent exercises. Are you worried that this also means that Russia may be ahead of NATO's forces when it comes to drone technology?
Well, of course, there is two aspects of the problem. Russia is depleting a lot of their stockpile, so they will need to rebuild it. They needed to probably also recruit more in the future whenever the war will be over. But on the other side, they have a lot of experience too, and I think that's something that they will treasure. But we are also having information on how they fight from our Ukrainian partners. So that's something that is going to be balanced, I think. That's again, it's a chessboard in which we are playing the game, just moving and counter-moving depending on what's going on in the battlefield.
Ukraine has shown that cheap, mass-produced systems can sometimes beat expensive platforms. Do you think that NATO, with its culture focused on legacy systems, is able to adapt to this new reality?
We are already, readapting our capabilities, capability targets for the future with the right balance on conventional legacy weapon with the new weapon at the edge of the technology, and also with cheap, good enough weapon that can be used in this kind of theater. That's another of the lessons that we learned.
Hi, this is Martin Fornusek from the Kyiv Independent's national desk, covering international and regional politics. We brought you this interview because Ukraine's future continues to depend on the political will of its allies, and it's important to hear directly from the people shaping that support. Work like this is possible only thanks to our supporters. If you want to see more content like this, please consider joining our community of paying members. The link is below. During the last year's summit in The Hague, the allies agreed to raise their defense spending to 5% of GDP. How would you assess the progress so far, and has the money been well spent to develop the capabilities needed for modern war?
Yeah, okay, of course, this is year number one, and we have 10 years to reach the 5%, 3.5 and 1.5%. The nation move on the good direction. Industry also change a lot to be able to fulfill our requirements. So things are changing. More need to be done in terms of speed on procurement, and we are also doing a good job in multiple requirements shared by the more than one nation. So that's something that give us, scale production and reduction in costs. And we are heading in that direction. I think we should be satisfied. There will be a report tomorrow. We will see tomorrow how is it. But there are things that can be put on the table from the NATO nation side.
Leaving aside procurement and defense equipment, do you see the recruitment and the issue of personnel as another potential bottleneck for NATO's armies?
I think that this could be a bottleneck, but that's we do have the tools to try to avoid it, because if this 5% part of this 5% is also for personnel, will be dedicated also to personnel, which is a fighting force in transforming the military life in a way more appealable. In some countries it's better than in others. So try to balance this and try to have to have this kind of choice. Joining the military with more appeal, that could be a winning choice. More nations are already moving on that direction. There are conscription in some of them. So there are reserve forces in others. So the nation are moving in that direction. More to be done. I think we will do it.
We heard from the Dutch defense minister today that the Netherlands is already stretching capacity when it comes to direct military aid it can provide to Ukraine. Do you see this as a more broader issue across NATO, that the member states simply are running out of stockpiles that they can immediately send to Ukraine?
We are employing a lot of our stockpile in Ukraine, and we'll keep on doing that at our best. Industry could be a factor. Industry could be a factor also in investing in Ukrainian industry, which honestly has less limits than our. I'm just speaking about certification, qualification. They do that right on the battlefield, while it took for us some time, from 1 to 3 years. This is a long process that we need to fix it, by the way. But again, helping in building in Ukraine, doing joint venture with Ukrainian, because they are security provider too. It seems to be strange, but they are, and we saw it. I think we're going to support them the way at the best for the time it will be necessary.
There have been several reported warnings by Western intelligence agencies that Russia may be planning some kind of hostile military operation on the territory of the Baltic countries or Poland. How realistic do you think this scenario is?
It is realistic to the point in which we define NATO as a threat. So it is a threat because Russia could do this kind of moves. But again, it's something that we need prepare to, and we need prepare to give them much more damage than the advantage they could get from this kind of decision, this kind of move, and we are doing it. Today they will lose a lot, much more than what they can gain just touching Poland or the Baltic state, and we are ready.
Russia is no longer fighting alone. It is fighting alongside North Korean troops, it is using Iranian-designed drones, and it is receiving economic support from China. How is NATO taking this into account in its military planning?
We are well aware on what's going on around our threat around Russia, and we keep an eye, pay a lot of attention to this. watching what are the moves and reacting accordingly.
With the US pushing to reduce its military presence on the continent and Europe still ramping up its defense capabilities, do you think that there might be a window for Russia to try and test how ready Europe is?
If we do it the smart way we are supposed to do and we are planning to do, I don't think so. I mean, it will be a smooth transition. We recognize, and that's true, that the United States need to divert some attention, some power, some energy somewhere else. It's a multi-theater confrontation situation that we are expecting in the next future. So we are proceeding on that direction, but in coordination among the allies, so we are doing that the way in which allies can fill the gap that the United States could leave, and that will be a coordinated process that we will handle together.
And are we doing it in a smart way? Are you afraid that maybe the US is rushing the process?
Right now we just have some indication, and we are already adapting to them.
What do you think are the most crucial capabilities or capability gaps that Europe would have to address if the US reduces its presence?
Well, this could be on strategic airlift, deep precision strike, and we are working on all of them, of course. Deep precision strike, electronic warfare, and ISR. These are precious capability that the United States is providing to NATO. If they need to take them away, we will react to that. But these are the ones which are more critical, and we are already working in the direction or on being able to fill these kind of gaps.
We recorded this interview because Ukraine's future continues to depend on the political will of its allies, and it's important to hear directly from the people shaping that support. Work like this is possible only thanks to our supporters. If you want to see more content like this, please consider joining the Kyiv Independence community of paying members. The link is below.